everybody, Eric Steckel here. Just want to remind you to check out my buddies Dave and Ty on the Nez Says show, Thursdays at 8 p.m., right on Dave's YouTube channel. I was a guest on the show a couple months back. We had a great time. So if you're a guitar player, you love guitar-related content, check out the show. You won't regret it. See you guys later.
Hey, we're live. It's October 15th, and you tuned into Nez Says, a place where musicians can get together and inspire each other to play guitar and other music and other instruments. Welcome to the show tonight. We've got a great show for you tonight. My co-host Ty Price is here with us tonight. How you doing, Ty?
I'm good, Dave. Good to see you. Happy Thursday. So happy to be here with this gentleman all the way from Detroit, Michigan, one of the most unique guitar players making music today, Sammy Boller. He's an internationally acclaimed player who has amassed a large and loyal online following. Hey, earlier this year, we spoke to Sammy when he released his debut instrumental record, Kingdom of the Sun, on Candy Rat Records. Amazing record. Look forward to hearing more about that release. Sammy also spends time as a clinician with the amplifier genius, my favorite amp builder, Dave Friedman, promoting Friedman amplification. And if that's not enough, Sammy also writes for Guitar World magazine. His online column, Secrets of Shred, racks up tens of thousands of views, and we're so happy he's agreed to join us tonight. Sammy, welcome. It's so good to see you again.
Hey, thanks so much, Ty. Thanks for the nice intro, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, it's
We're glad you're here.
Hey, before we start, let's say hello to everyone in the chat. Chris Bevan is here. Zach Thong, Ben Coombs, Desiree Dornan, Metal Man Oink. Welcome. Max
What a
Joseph.
great name.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Brian Spalding.
Oh,
Nice to
Brian
see you.
Spalding. Talk about a beast of a guitar player. That guy's fantastic.
David Mathias is here. Let's see. Thomas Santiago, Tim Seymour. Ty Price is here. Michael Bishop is here. Janice
We got a lot of
Lala,
people
hello.
in here, man.
Let's see. Quentin James is here.
Hey, Quentin.
James Kovler Music is here. Mike as himself is here. Nice to see you. Dan of New Jersey is here. Amy Harp is here. Charlie S is here. And we'll keep saying hello to people as they come in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night, Nez Says.
Yeah, glad you're here.
By the way, Ty, tonight's the first time I didn't read it off that card.
Oh,
There
do
you
you?
go.
I would have never noticed. I didn't know that you were reading off the card.
I don't have like I said off camera before, I don't remember much other than the day of the show and who's going to be on the show. So our opening, I usually read on a card that we had since day one. Today's the first day I didn't read it.
That's awesome.
I now all of a sudden I've just memorized it.
You can
And
retire your teleprompter.
Now I play with it a little bit. But yeah. Yeah.
Congrats,
fun.
man. That's great.
That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Davis said, yes, this is a gem. I'll talk about this guitar a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah,
That
cool.
guitar's amazing, man.
Yeah, it looks great. Well, just tee it up now, Dave. Sammy and I both want to see it. So
Yeah, I
Okay,
wanna see
well,
it
all
already.
Tee it
right.
up.
So this guitar has been in the making for a year now. I bought a guitar that I was going to have. I had a body that I wanted swirled green and black by Darren Johansson, who was the guy who made them all for Ibanez when Steve Vai did his thing. He was the guy. A situation came up where Darren couldn't get it done. So I had a donor guitar. It was a black gem. I still have a black gem with the green pickups, but I had bought a second one so I can strip all the parts off of it and have this guitar swirled. So I've had all the pickups, the neck, everything. Everything has been sitting on my guest bed for a good year now. And I was talking to Desiree like a week and a half ago, and I saw this green body on Reverb, and I was like, I'm never gonna get that body from Darren. At least not right now. I'm not. It's been a year. I'd love to really put that guitar together. So she said, "All right, well, why don't you buy it now, and I'll buy it for you." Like out of left field, that was the sweetest gesture. So I bought the body and put it together, and here's the guitar.
It's cool,
It's
Dave.
a Loch Ness green gem with a vine neck from '89. The pickups are from a green and black swirl gem. The knobs are original green painted knobs from Ibanez with the switch tip. It's a low pro edge. It's got an original gem neck. What the hell is this thing called? Neck plate. It's all original. It's all original Ibanez stuff, and it sounds incredible. It's so resonant. The tremolo, it flutters like crazy. It's not heavy. It's a light guitar. I've always wanted a green gem as well. But you know how expensive those original 777s in Loch Ness green are. If you're a gem guy, they're up to like 10 grand now. Because there's only 777 of them. They're all signed and numbered by Steve Vai.
Very cool.
And,
awesome.
You can't get one. So here's my version of that guitar.
It's super nice, man.
Thank
looks
you.
Very
amazing.
nice.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
I appreciate it. And, it plays and sounds as good as it looks. If you don't like green, it sounds and plays better than it looks. But if you like green, it sounds and plays as good as it looks. And there it is.
That's awesome.
Thank
Very
you.
cool.
I will have one more guitar to show later on in the night, but I wanted to start the show showing this. And now back to Sammy Boller, because it's his show.
Sammy Boller.
It's not
So
my show. I'm just hanging.
we're so happy that you're here. Sammy, you've already gotten questions in the chat comments. I don't know if you saw, man. Oink. Sammy is a badass. Amen to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Han36 Solo asked comments on great video with Steve Stevens. I'm assuming
thanks,
that he's
man.
referring to the video you guys did with Dave Friedman. Tell us how that came to be.
Yeah, I met Steve last year through Dave. He's worked with Dave Friedman for years.
Right.
He was one of his first signature amplifier artists, and we did a couple clinics together. I think 2 years ago, and we just kind of became friends. He's like one of the nicest guys ever, especially for being such a huge rock star,
Mm-hmm.
So we just became kind of friends, and we did a clinic. I guess it's almost a year ago now, which is a little scary, but it was in San Diego, and I was in California doing some stuff, like a few days early, like I was in town a few days early, and I went over to his place and we kind of put together a song for the clinic that we were doing in San Diego. So it was really cool, man. Like getting to sit down and just jam with him and talk and to write a song together. That was like insane, But yeah, so we played it a couple of nights later, and it was awesome. So I chopped it out and put it up today. So it was out for a while. Like the clinic video was up for since we did it, but I just put it up because it was cool. I was thinking about it last night, like, man, that's I should probably post that. It's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, Steve's awesome, man. Just a wonderful person.
That's awesome.
He's really cool.
So Sammy, I mean, he's been around for decades. I mean, phenomenal guitar player, but always has phenomenal tone, right?
Insane,
and feel. What share with us what you learned being around Steve for that short period.
He's one of those guys where his every time he plugs in an amp, like his rig, it sounds exactly like him. You know, he's got like a real signature sound. But I realized he's another great example of like somebody who has the tone in their hands. When we did this clinic at Chicago Music Exchange 2 years ago now, and the guitar player from Cheap Trick, Rick Nielsen, is like a part owner of Chicago Music Exchange and
Oh,
Reverb.
no kidding.
I didn't know that.
Or
I didn't know that.
Works with them, yeah. So he has a lot of his Cheap Trick guitars there in like one of the vaults. So they took us up and we got to play like the Live at Budokan Explorer and all these really famous guitars. And Steve played that Explorer and plugged in. It was just like, and I'm just sitting on the couch with him, like right next to him, and it sounded exact. It was some little combo amp, but it sounded exactly like him. You know, just unbelievable. His sound, and not only that, but I mean, just as a guitarist, like I've never played with somebody who can play. I mean, he's unbelievable. You know, everybody knows that, but I mean, sitting really, it's even more like jaw dropping when you're right next to him, just going, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that, you know, you close your eyes, you hear one or two notes, and you know it's Steve.
The big time, man. Yeah, and his sound and as a songwriter too. Like, so I love some of the riffs, you know, he's written. He's just awesome.
I loved the instrumental record that he made. It's been a while now. Memory Crash. Fantastic record.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's a really, really great. I like the Atomic Playboys too.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he's awesome. He was showing me some. He has like some live stuff that they did. Like I think it was just like a board mix, but he was showing it to me, and it's like, oh my God! Like I wish I could have seen that live. You know, it's like, you know, I was telling him, man, you guys gotta do this again. It's super, super cool. But yeah, he's done so much in his career. It's like, yeah, just awesome.
That's awesome. Real quick, I have to apologize to Metal Man Onyx because it's Metal Man Onyx, not Metal Man Oink. I'm sorry.
Oh, did you say Metal Man Oink?
I said Metal Man Oink.
That's awesome.
Sorry about that, dude.
Yeah.
But Metal Man Oink is a cool name, regardless.
Yeah,
maybe somebody else can grab that YouTube ID.
Onyx. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, Sammy, I mean, tell us about what you've been doing since the quarantine, since the lockdown, since none of us are out playing.
Yeah, it's a bummer not being able to play, man. I know we were talking about that right before we got on, but yeah, it was weird. This is like my first summer home in quite a few years, you know. So it's been, you know, it hasn't been that bad though. I've been spending a lot of time like doing studio work and stuff like that. The past few weeks I've been doing sessions, so it's been fun. I've had the past couple days off, so it's been nice just being able to be home a little bit. But you know, it's like every other musician right now. It's like just trying to figure out the new normal. You know, trying to navigate through it. So yeah, I've just spent a lot of time playing guitar. You know, hanging out at home, doing playing guitar on other records, stuff like that. I've been teaching online.
That's great.
Kind of like what everybody's been doing. You know.
Now, when you're playing on other records, are you actually going into the studio, or are people just sending you the songs and you putting them on? You know, you putting it on to tape there at the house.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. The past few weeks, I've actually been in a studio working, but I've done a couple things. I just played on this track. It was a cover of "Stand Up and Shout" for the Dio Foundation's putting it out, which is pretty cool.
Oh, good.
I did that here, which was, it's amazing. Like just in the past few years, the technology, how much it's changed. Like to be able to record real tracks in your apartment is pretty incredible, which I'm really, really thankful for. You know, just roll out of bed and do it. But for the most part, I still like going to the studio and cranking up an amp and going. You know.
I was just going to ask, do you get to crank it up at the house at all, or is it just like living room volume or less?
I'm in a little apartment, so I can't really. I'm really lucky. My next door neighbor behind this wall is cool with it because I usually work on stuff like late at night, you know. So I run like heads through a load box and just run through monitors, you know. So it still sounds good, but I mean I'll still crank it in here, but it's not like I'm you know, pulling up a 412 and blowing it out, you know. I wish I could, but maybe one day.
Yeah, Keith Michael says, "Can you talk about the guitar that looks like a white EVH Wolfgang USA signature in Ty's guitar rack?"
Yeah, that's awesome. That looks amazing.
Oh yeah. I'll show that guitar a little later.
Yeah,
Yeah. Who asked that question?
Keith Michael.
Yeah, Keith. I'll show that. I'll show that in a minute. Hey, Sammy. Before we leave that subject, we get a lot of questions here from players about how to record at home, how to play at home, amp versus digital solutions. How do I make a choice, and
Yeah.
so forth and so on. Can you share with us how about your digital workstation and what you're doing and how you're doing it?
Yeah. I've I've never been like much of a digital amp guy, like Kemper or Axe Effects. I've done a couple sessions where that's all they had, and it's you just plug in. It's cool, it definitely serves a purpose. But for me, like since I've always been kind of like a tube amp guy, a friend turned me onto this thing called the Two Notes Torpedo Live, which is like a little rack unit. It's right here behind my camera right here. But it usually, like when I was a kid, I made the mistake a couple times where I didn't know you have to have I'd take a line out and go into an interface, and I didn't know you have to have a speaker plugged in or else it blows up. So I made the mistake of when I was a kid of blowing up a couple heads, which a lot of people have done, or at least people around my age have done, like idiots. But what this thing does is you can take the actual load of the amp, like the speaker, out, and it turns it into line level, so you can play without having a cabinet plugged in. So what I do is I use that torpedo, and then I go straight into my interface from that, and it sounds awesome. Like this one's my favorite load box that's on the market. It's the only one I've really used like extensively, but it sounds really, really good. And you can load, depending on like what IRs you have, you can load as many as you want into it. But I just use the standard one, like the British vintage 412 that's right in it. It's like the first one that comes up, and it sounds awesome.
So for us and for the people in the chat and whoever else hears this, you plug straight into the amp head from your guitar, and then from the speaker out, you plug into the torpedo, and then you go into your interface.
Line out.
That line out of the interface, correct?
And
it's that easy, and you.
That's about as close as you can get to going to a studio. And
well, what I'd like you to do right now is pick up your guitar and let everyone hear what that sounds like.
Yeah, I've got that going right now. One sec. And I've actually, it allows you to have, like, I have my whole pedal board plugged in and everything. So this is like just the amp with no effects, just. Or whatever.
That's insane.
That sounds great.
I can't hear exactly how it sounds, but I'm glad it sounds good.
It sounds so good. Wait till you watch the playback of this video. You're gonna be like, wow, that sounds great.
I'm excited. I've been since that's another thing I've been doing since quarantine is trying to get a good live stream setup going so the guitar sounds good. Before this, I was never able to get a good guitar sound on doing these zooms and stuff like that. So I'm glad it sounds good through. That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
killer.
man. But yeah, you can do that. You just go straight into your DAW or whatever, and that's pretty close to going to the studio. I'd say it's a little bit. It's not quite, miking up an amp and really doing it, but it's really close.
Man.
Is that the BE that you're plugged into, Sammy?
It's a BE100. Yeah, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
I've also got this little. Do you guys know Bruce Egnator, like Egnator amps?
Sure.
Absolutely.
He lives near me, and I hang out with him sometimes. He's a buddy. He's a super knowledgeable guy, but he has this thing called an amp switcher, or he was like one of the first people to make amp switchers, kind of like the Ampete ones that I'm sure you guys have seen, like where you can switch through heads,
Mm-hmm.
So I got one of these old Egnator amp switchers from him, and it's in this rack right here. So what I can do is say I'm like doubling a guitar, I can play through the Friedman, and then I just hit a button, and it all switches to, like, say I wanted to use a Marshall, it switches to it, and I don't have to unplug the speaker cable or anything. It's pretty cool.
Convenient.
It's pretty, yeah. I've kind of like streamlined it the past couple months, which has been pretty fun. But yeah, that's about it, man. But I'd say that's the best way to do it. Is if you have an amp you really love and that's your sound,
Mm-hmm.
just invest in a load box. You don't have to get the rack one. Like I think Torpedo or Two Notes makes one where it's It's like just a little box, and it's got all the IRs in it and everything. I forget what it's called, like Captor X or something. But that's awesome. I've turned a lot of my buddies onto those, and it's really really convenient.
But it's pretty exciting as a tube amp guy myself. It's and then a lot of the rooms that I'm playing in, they want these quiet stages, and these these load boxes and IRs do allow us to not only do it in our homes, but it allows us to take it to these stages too, and we can run direct to front of house, half quiet stages, and still use our favorite amplifiers. So it's really never been a better time to be a guitar player with all the cool gear that's available to us.
It's pretty amazing, man. Yeah, I've never really messed with it live so much, but Steve was actually telling me last time I saw him where they use in-ears with Billy Idol like most bands do now.
Yeah.
And he finally started using a load box with IRs for their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the difference is unbelievable. He says his guitars never sounded better in his monitors, ever. From as soon as he switched to using a load box, it's so much more consistent. They never have to worry about, say, a mic gets knocked or whatever. So I know for sure he's using them in his monitoring now too. And they might be using partially at front of house as well. A lot of people are switching to front of house with IRs, just because you don't have to slam it on stage anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we're getting a lot of chatter in the chat box now about digitals. Hugh Caldwell says he has a Kemper. Hugh, I have a Kemper too. I think they're all tools, right? There's a purpose for them all, and whatever works for you, works for you. What might work for me or what might work for Dave or Sammy might not be exactly right for you, and that's the beautiful part about being on this journey is that there's discovery to be had. But there's nothing wrong with a Kemper. Certainly a great a gear.
It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely. They're really really they come in handy, and the features alone. A buddy of mine has one, and he was showing me how you can just go online and just kind of cycle through different tones. Basically, there's a whole library, right?
Yeah, and
Or I'm not...
I've spent some time building a library of profiles of amps I own. I got some advice one time from the very knowledgeable and talented Larry Mitchell about if you know how to dial an amp in, profile that amp, plug it into your Kemper, and then when you have to use your Kemper, you still you have that tone. But the key to that is you got to have the amp first, right? So my favorite amp in the entire world is the small box, and just I love that amplifier, and I love being able to travel with it, when I have to, and I can take it into my Kemper. But the key to that is, you got to have the small box first, and the Kemper just becomes a travel tool.
That amp's amazing. Yeah, the small box is amazing, man. I've heard with the actual the capturing the amps, I guess what makes a big difference is like how you actually record it. Like if you have a really good preamp and a really good mic, it really makes a difference. I've never done it. I've watched videos of people doing it. It's crazy. Like, have you actually done it personally? Like captured amps?
Yes.
What's it like? That's like a pretty crazy process, right?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm not the most technically savvy guy when it comes to amp pre's, mics, mic placement. Not the most. So I really lean on an engineering friend to help me get that done. But and I've had varying degrees of success. When I first started doing it, I was not blown away with the profiles. I'd just much rather just play the amp, even if I had to play it very quietly. But the more it's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And and now I'm pretty happy. I have noticed though that I've purchased profiles before, and those are always hit or miss for me because the guitar I'm using may be different than the guitar that was actually used when it was profiled, and the way in which I play is different than the player of when it was profiled, so forth and so on. All of these intangibles, kind of begin to reveal themselves in that process. So,
Right.
the best way to do it is if you can profile your own gear and take your tone with you.
I'd love to be able to do that someday. That's pretty amazing. So you'd
But
say
then,
you
like-
probably prefer a Kemper over an Axe FX then, yeah?
Only because, like I said, with me and the learning curve, I found the fractal to be a little more challenging for me. I'm sure with a time investment, I can overcome those obstacles. But I found that the Kemper was, a little more idiot proof for a guy like me. So
That's
it
what
just-
I look for too, man. Yeah, that's what I look for sure.
because at the end of the day, Sammy, I just want to pick up that head, plug it into a cabinet, and then take the guitar and plug it in and
Let's
turn it
go,
up
yeah.
and play. And
That's the way it is for me. I totally understand that feeling. Is you want that power under your fingers. You want that sound that and you've heard for bazillions of years on every record. You want that sound at your fingertips.
Right. Right. Without having to, shift through a million
Without
different-
having to program it. And
Right.
and especially on an Axe FX, even though it is probably the most intelligent, best sounding machine on the planet as far as digital, it is really hard to get into and work. It's hard to get into. It's not plug and go. It's definitely, you gotta really know how to do it. And the more you futz with it, the better it sounds.
Right.
You really got to be into tinkering with sound to get that to sound right.
But my advice for anybody using those live too, because I've seen a lot of bands use them. Tons of touring bands use Axe FX and Kemper now. And my advice for that is the difference, like when you're out front from like seeing buddies bands that use them, is when they actually run them through cabinets and they're mic'd or go through some type of load box or whatever. It's a lot better than just taking the line out of the back of it and going into the PA. Like there's something about it that makes like actually moving air. I think it sounds a lot better when you do that. At least the shows I've gone to. That's just personally like
Sure.
the shows I've gone to and heard them live. But sometimes, once again, just being able to just bring a little rack and just take a line out of it and be able to play anywhere, that's pretty incredible. And to have it sound great, still have great sounds, it's pretty amazing.
But you're absolutely right about that live environment and where it is, and if the guitar, I don't think it's in my head. I think that it's a very real thing when you're plugged into an amp and coming through a cabinet. It's much more alive. I'm not sure if that's the right word or not, but the guitar is much more present than if it's direct digitally, at least to my ear. I think that's a really good observation. Also, stylistically, it plays a part, right? Because those of us that grew up playing real amps, being able to control it at a certain volume, being able to use natural feedback on a stage, really can evolve as part of who you are as a player, stylistically, right? It can have an effect how you use that feedback, when you use that feedback. If that's a part of your style, then that's important. That can be lost in the digital environment. I have found
it's completely gone, yeah, and that's such a huge. That's a huge part of being at least a rock guitar player, is being able to control an amp, control a beast, and it's you have to learn how to play that way when you're that loud playing with a loud rock band. It's
Even
part
in
of the
this-
sound of rock and roll.
Even in the simplest form, take
right.
the sound out of it, take all that, take the playing out of it. How about just seeing a Marshall head and 412 cabinet on a stage? How about just the visual alone?
Yep.
Because that's impressive. Then you hear it and it's like it's all over. You know, you see a Marshall style or a British style head on a 412 cabinet or more than one 412 cabinet on a stage, and you know it's. I mean, if you go in there to see the show, you know that the player is going to be good because you wouldn't go if you didn't think the player was good. But you see that, and the next thing you know is you've got some great sound coming at you. You know.
Yeah, it's you gotta have amps on stage.
You know, it's one thing, you know, and I love watching Larry Mitchell, you know, and he always, you know, he always has cool guitars. He's got his presence is one thing. Maybe he doesn't need to have a head and cabinet behind him, but when you're going to see a show, you know, part of it is I want to see gear. I want to see the gear as well as the show, because the gear to me is part of the show. And that's one of the reasons why I love going to see Joe Bonamassa. He brings out the gear. You know, he brings out vintage gear and like millions of dollars worth of it. Not to mention he's an amazing player and his songs are really good. But you go there to watch the guitar change and the amps behind him too.
His rig is amazing.
Yeah,
all those amps, and he's got them all plexiglassed off. Right?
Oh my God! I mean,
cool.
two vintage high-powered twins and two Dumbles. Come on,
it's pretty.
It don't get much better than that. And to have a 58 or two 58 Flying V's and a bunch of late 50s Les Pauls, it don't get better than that.
Insane, yeah, and getting to hear those how they're supposed to be played, you know, it's pretty amazing.
So
I've never seen him live, man. He was here. He was here at the end of last year.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go. Next time he plays in front of cardboard cutouts, you should go hide behind one.
I saw that video. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
My best friend plays for Joanne Shaw Taylor. Do you guys know who that is? She's like a blues guitar player. Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah. She's good friends with Joe, but they did his cruise, like the Joe Bonamassa cruise or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And, Keeping the blues alive. Or...
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. They were on the last one. He said it was a blast, but he said Joe's just wailing. You know,
it's
and that's
because...
like that. He was there when he saw. Wasn't it? I forget what was the viral video from that? Like him and Eric Gales playing together or something.
There's been a couple, but there's one of him and Josh Smith and Tommy Emmanuel doing a guitar duel, guitar solo. That's like the latest one. That's crazy.
Amazing. Tommy Emmanuel's one of the best shows I've ever seen. Best guitar shows I've ever seen in my life. Maybe the best. It was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick, Hugh Caldwell says, "Is Sammy's Friedman Super Strat in the room?"
Yeah, so you want me to grab it? It's right behind me.
Whenever you can. No big deal.
Yeah, I don't care. I can grab it. One sec. I was just playing this thing earlier. Here it is, y'all.
I love it. What a beautiful, cool guitar, man. Huh?
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I love this thing. Definitely one of my favorites. It looks like it's about 100 years old, but it's. I just got it. I think I've had it about a year and a half now.
Now, have you added to any of that relicking?
I haven't. No. Usually, like this NoHo 24 model, they're usually like high flame tops, like really, really nice, not worn out. But I told Dave, I was like, man, I think I'd just rather, like, my style is more just kind of like playing, like kind of beat up tops, you know.
Well, it looks like it's got a lot of flame right there where it's worn down.
I've never seen. That was his idea to flame it and then.
Yeah, that's killer.
I wish it was my idea. Yeah, I wish I came up with it, but yeah, it's a cool guitar, man. It sounds great too. I got the two around. So yeah, it's really, and another thing, like usually super strats are like somewhat. It depends on the company or whatever. But this thing is really thick. Like I don't know if you can tell, but it's got a really thick body.
Really does.
Which kind of makes it. Yeah, kind of gives.
Yeah, that might be 2 inches. That might be 2 inches right there.
It's pretty cool, man. Yeah, and these are all made by Grover Jackson. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a great guitar, man. It's one of my favorites.
24 fret guitar, Sammy.
Yeah, and that took some getting used to, because I had to go do some clinics with it like 2 days after I got it, and I've never had a 24 fret guitar. I've always played Gibsons, so that took some adjusting. The stuff going like, oh God, where am I? And fucking up big time. But it's okay. you go through it. Everybody goes through it.
It's funny. Generally speaking, I don't like 24 fret guitars. Meanwhile, I'm holding one, and the next guitar is going to be a 24 fret guitar. But on this particular guitar, it doesn't feel like it's 24 frets. It doesn't feel longer. On the next guitar I'm going to show you, it feels like that longer, like you just said. So I think it really depends on the guitar.
It does.
Because some 24 fret guitars feel normal to me. I know exactly where I am, and other ones I'm like, wait, I'm 2 frets down. I shouldn't be there. It's crazy.
Did you seek out a 24 fret guitar for creative reasons, or what inspired you to move that into that direction?
I just saw one of these at NAMM, and I was just talking to Dave. I'm like, man, that's out of because they have a lot of different models. They have a Strat type and a Tele type, and they've started. I was gonna get they make a model called the Metro D, which is kind of like a single cut Les Paul type guitar.
Love
so
that
I was gonna
guitar.
get one of those. Those are amazing. Yeah, those sound incredible. But when I saw that, I was like, man, that's different than anything I have. I could totally see myself playing one of those, so that's how I ended up with it. And what's cool about this one is kind of like what you were saying, Dave, where some 24 frets feel really long. This one has a Gibson scale length, even though it's 24 frets.
Oh, that's fantastic! So it's
it's a pretty
short.
unique thing.
It's short and it's compact. You don't have to really stretch.
Not too bad, no.
Yeah, that's great.
Not too bad.
That's great.
It's cool, man. Yeah, I don't really know anybody else that does the 24 frets with the Gibson length, so.
Neither do I. I think.
Wait a minute. Is that exclusive to the guitar you're holding, Sammy, or is that part of the model in general?
No,
the scale length.
That's on
Is
the
it
model.
really?
I think that was Grover's idea, because he was talking about doing that for a long time, but just never had a model that it would work with. But when they were designing this, they thought, that's pretty cool and it's unique. So.
Oh, I'd love to try one of those.
But yeah,
I've tried the Vintage T and the Vintage S, and I've tried the Cali, but I've never tried the NoHo, and I've never tried the Metro D. I'd love to try those.
They're all really nice, man. Yeah, they're all great. When they first came out, because I think the first models were the Cali and the Vintage T, if I'm not mistaken, when they first came out.
I'm a big fan of the Cali, by the way.
They're awesome.
But it's like, I'm a huge fan of old Charvels, and that might be the next version of what an old Charvel would be. Like really, really good new guitar, and I love it. I think the Cali's amazing.
They're awesome. Yeah, they sell a lot of those, man. And you see a lot of people playing them now, so it's really cool. The one, I think my next Super Strat I'm gonna get, I just discovered this. Now this is on my list as if I need any more guitars, but have you ever heard of a Gibson US-1? It's from the 80s. They made them.
I've heard of it. I don't remember what it looks like, but I have heard of it. Yeah.
And
it's a Super Strat with an Explorer headstock.
Oh yeah.
It's designed like a Les Paul custom. It's got block. It looks crazy. It's really bizarre.
Yes,
they're on a lot of them. So I'm just trolling eBay trying to there's not a lot of them. There's only 2 up right now, but I'm trying to find a black one because they made them in sunburst and black and a couple. I'll send you a link to the one I saw the other night, but it's man, that is so cool to see that as a Gibson. It looks just like just a freak guitar. It's really weird.
That's cool. I'd love to see a photo of that, and you probably just inspired some guys to go look for one too. So.
I know, great. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said it.
Ben Coon says, I have a demo of the Metro D on my channel and loved it. I will have to go and see that demo, Ben. I'd love to go and see that. I really, really like that guitar a lot.
Thanks for hanging, Ben. It's good to talk to you, bro.
Yeah. The first time I had I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean. The first time I had an interaction with a Friedman guitar, my good friend Jay got a Vintage T, and I was just blown away. At how the guitar sounded, and then two, how well built of a guitar. I mean, just an incredible guitar, and it just had all this mojo to it. He bought this beautiful Pelham Blue guitar, tons of just tons of vibe in that guitar, and so I'm
awesome.
glad to see the guitar line doing well.
I think those are the best tellies you can get, man. At least for like if you're going like the vintage T is like the more traditional spec, you know. I think those sound just and play so well. You know, it's like it's hard to find anybody else that makes a telly like that. You know, where it's just right off the shelf. It's like that. And what's cool is like they're all they're none of them are alike because of the way they do the aging. There's not two that are exactly alike, which I like that. You know, I
Me
like
too.
If you're getting a guitar, it's like totally unique to you.
My question is it all vintage spec? Like, is the radius like 7.25? Is it small frets, or is it like a telly? It sounds like a telly. It looks like a telly, but it plays like a Ferrari. Is that it?
Yeah, it's not totally vintage spec.
Okay.
They're,
See, now
actually that's interesting. I'm not. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure they're a little bit different. It's not totally, you know, like big thick. No, they're not. They're a little bit different. They're Friedman specs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gotta ask Dave that. Because that's a great question to ask. You know, a lot of people are afraid of Telecasters just because you gotta be a good player to play a Telecaster. Let's just face it. Telecaster's not forgiving. It's not the easiest guitar in the world to play if you're not proficient at guitar. And even if you are proficient at guitar, it's not the easiest guitar to play in the world. So
you guys want to see one of my quarantine finds? This is like I've gotten 2 guitars during quarantine.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Speaking of tellies, I brought it in here just for this.
Sure.
I've never been a huge telly guy. I've always wanted one, you know.
Looks like a 72 or a 74 deluxe.
It's a 75 deluxe.
There you go, man. That's in
Pretty
great
nice.
shape.
Beautiful.
I got this from my parents were like on the road for years, and I bought this from their guitar player. This is the guitar like he had when he was playing with them like in the 80s. So
Wow.
Oh,
I
cool.
got it really cheap because it's pretty cool, man. Yeah, he had broken the original neck, so it had like a replacement neck on it and stuff. So and he had modded it out a little bit, but it has the original pickups. So I kind of like spent so I spent a couple weeks during quarantine kind of like getting it back to original specs. But this is one of the best recording guitars I have. Like the pickups in this are some of the most amazing pickups. I think I like some of the best humbuckers I've ever heard.
They're full range, that's why.
Yeah, it's
They have those the pole pieces. Yeah, the pole pieces are split. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name. Seth Lover, I think, is his name. I always forget the guy who designed him. Like he designed the original PAFs.
Correct.
And then he went to Fender. But yeah, this guitar is awesome. So this was my quarantine find. I got an acoustic too during quarantine, but
Well, congratulations.
yeah, it's pretty exciting, man. It's cool. It's cool. Like when you get, I've always been like a used guitar guy. I've like never really bought new guitars. So when you find ones that are like special, it's pretty neat.
It's very, very funny. Bozique says, and I disagree with you. I'm sorry, Bozique, I have to disagree with you. He says, problem with the Telecaster is the looks. Kind of like an unattractive person who has a lot of good qualities, but you won't date them because they're ugly. Now, for two reasons I disagree with you, Bozique. I'm getting married to a gorgeous woman, and I'm not all that attractive, but I got a lot of good qualities. Telecaster is really attractive to me. I think it's a beautiful guitar. And
I think they look awesome.
So
yeah,
there you go.
They look awesome. There you go. Overruled, damn it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think Rotellis look awesome, you know?
Yeah.
I think they've always looked cool. So, I don't know.
So much
I like
vibe
this one
in a
too because
Telecaster.
I like this one because it's like a Les Paul. It's like about as close to a Les Paul as you can get in a Telly just because it has the fork.
Very cool.
It's all good.
Tessie
cool.
Switch is in the house. Hello, Tessie Switch.
Yo, Tessie Switch.
Yes.
Very nice to see you.
I have a Tessie
like this
switch
setup.
right there.
What is it? What is a Tessie switch?
See that little
This-
red kill switch on that white
This guy right here.
Oh, it's a kill switch?
Yep.
Oh, shit. That's cool. You can they make the switches that you can just drop right in, basically?
Well,
no,
if you know a guy named Dave, Dave Nesdahl, he can drop it right in for you. Dave did that one for me.
That's cool, man.
In fact, Rob drop shipped it. I talked to Rob on the phone one afternoon, and Rob just drop shipped it to you because you had my guitar, right, Dave? And then you put it in. Yeah.
I think it took a day to get it. Like I said, can you get me this? And the next day it was at my house. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And
That's cool.
they're a ton of fun, and they work as advertised, which is super important.
And
Yeah.
if you want to buy one, I got a 15% coupon. You just say Nez says 15, and you get 15% off on on anything that he said. I think everything he sells. If not, I have to get that from him. He'll tell us. I think it's everything. I think it's Nez says 15 if you order something, and that's 15% off for whatever you buy.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just I like thinking about it. There's never been anybody that just makes a kill switch as an add-on. At least that I know of, where you just order it and put a drop right. That's a good idea. Man.
Well, the cool thing about Texas Switch is he sells Earthquaker pedals, Keeley pedals. He sells cables. He sells picks. He sells
Kill switches, knobs, pots, pedals.
all of it. He sells all of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. It's like a Radio Shack for guitar players only. That's cool.
It's fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.
So? Did you have to drill into that Wolfgang behind you, or how did
Yeah.
that work? Yeah. Let me
Well,
see, I
this
wanna
was
see that thing, man.
well, they when I got this, they had not started making the signature model yet,
That's
and
awesome.
so I wanted this, and Dave added it for me. I mean, look how clean this is. So here's the kill switch.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just. I mean, Dave Nesdell's a pro. This thing is, and this guitar's gotten a lot of time over the last week for obvious reasons, and but yeah, this guitar was just a regular USA Wolfgang, and I sent it to Dave, and he made the engine run a little smoother on this. I mean, there's some shims here. There's new Floyd, different type of Floyd on this, and different nut.
What was on? Was there something in the cavity in the back? What is that? Is there like something you added to the? Cavity?
There's a block. There was a block that Dave put in.
What is that? What is that for?
This was. I noticed a huge difference in terms of sustain when this block went in, and
It's brass, a large brass block.
I don't know if that will translate onto the camera or not, but
I think it's cool.
there's a big brass block. This guitar sounds great, plays really good, plays really good. And I live in a very humid climate here in the Southeast. This never moves, which is a big appeal to me.
Yeah.
I don't like working on these guitars, even if it's as simple as turning this little, truss rod wheel right here. I just want to pick it up and play it and let it do its thing. And this is about as solid as guitar as it can be. Terry, there's no plate on it. I mean, I have the plate. I could. I just took it off and never put it back on.
I think it looks better without it.
It's unfinished in the cavity, which I always found
that's
interesting.
what I was asking about. Yeah, I thought you guys added that in or something.
It's
No.
unfinished.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now, Eddie, when he designed that guitar, he wanted it to be unfinished in the cavity, so it would allow the wood to breathe and age like a guitar with lacquer finish on it. Nitro type finish.
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you an example. A nitro finished guitar. Well, if it's a good guitar, it's going to sound great when you first get it. 30 years from now, it's going to age. It's going to sound even better, like a good bottle of wine. Enamel paint, any other paint other than nitro, it may sound good. If it's a good guitar, it'll sound good the day you get it, but it'll never age. The sound won't change with age because it's that paint is choking that wood. It's not allowing it to breathe. So because that's not nitro, he left a whole area with bare wood so that it will age.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
The other the other thing I love about this particular guitar, I mean, this particular guitar is made to go live. With just really simple things. the way that this guitar hangs on your body, the balance of it. There's a lumen quality to these knobs, so you know where you are. And then this is my favorite feature of the guitar, is the lumens right here on these top dots right here. I can see it in the dark, and because I don't wear, I wear glasses here on Nez Says so that I can read the chat, but I don't walk out with glasses on. So being able to see when you play the guitar is pretty important to me.
Absolutely.
and you can see. They just left no stone unturned, in my opinion, when they made this guitar. It's really made to go live. Keith Mitchell says it's gorgeous. Love the Wolfies. I agree. The shape, the neck, the headstock, the quality, the playability. Love it all. Yeah, me too, Keith. Yeah.
I've always
so
loved Wolfgang's,
great
man.
guitar.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one, man. That looks like the last one he was using, like on that tour.
Yeah,
It
Unrelic.
does.
Yes.
Unrelic, yeah, but
Yep.
yeah, that's cool. That's a great axe, man.
Yeah, great guitar.
Is that one of your
I
main
like it.
guitars
I
now?
like
You
it.
play- Were you using a lot of it?
Not really, Sammy.
No.
But over the last 8 days it has been, and
Oh man, yeah.
and I'm reminded at how I was telling Dave over the weekend. I was just reminded all the great things about this guitar, spending some quality time with it. So
Yeah.
it's set up 9 to
I love-
42, half step down. Somebody
Just
asked
like
me that in
his.
the chat.
That's cool. Just
Yeah.
like his. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
a beautiful
cool.
axe, man. I
Fun
like
guitar.
the glow. I like the glow in the dark too, because I'm somebody who I always get lost, especially when there's lights and it's dark, and that's why I like having big block inlays, because it's like you can at least kind of see where the hell you are.
Me
you
too.
know? But and that
Yeah,
one has
me
that
too.
as well, so.
Yeah, always one of my favorite features on the Les Paul Custom, the big block inlays.
Yeah.
Loved it. Got pretty excited the first time I saw this. What year did they do this for the first time, Dave? 15? 14?
9. Oh wait, the white one.
Yeah, the white with the
2015.
blocks.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, cool guitar.
It's beautiful. I like the kill switch too. I gotta check those out. When
Man.
I was a kid, I tried to make a kill switch pedal just out of parts, but you can't do it with your foot. It just doesn't work the same.
Did
Thank
you say
you.
when you were a Jedi?
When I was a kid.
I thought you said when you were a Jedi.
Yeah,
Wow.
back when I was on.
You were a Jedi? That's cool.
I wish.
Don't we all?
I
Man.
know, man. Especially now.
I wish I was a Padawan. If you guys
That's
know what
awesome.
any of your Star Wars words. Anyway, let's get back to Sammy. So that guitar, man, have you recorded with that thing yet?
I've been using it a lot. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've been doing like some production stuff just the past couple of years. So a lot of bands that I've been working with have been using this to record too.
Have you found any tuning issues with the 3-bolt neck?
No, you know what? I had somebody put this neck on. Like I mentioned, it had a different neck on it when I got it. But he really, there's a guy I go to here named Mark Wenninger in Detroit, and he's great. But he really, he did something in the neck. I don't know if he like shimmed it or something in the pocket, but it's solid. That was
That's
obviously
cool.
that was obviously the big complaint about these. You know, is for
Yeah,
anybody
3 bolts
watching it doesn't
versus
know,
4
like,
bolts.
Yeah, it's
Right.
got 3. In the 70s, they were using 3 bolts, and if you're on stage and moved it the wrong way, it would slip.
And really, it looks like it's 3 bolts, but really it's 2, because that bolt in the center, all that is a neck tilt. Really,
Oh,
it's not
that's
a bolt.
right, yeah.
It's just the neck tilt. So there's really 2 bolts holding that guitar on, that body on that
sucks.
neck.
I'm glad they got away from that.
Yeah.
Personally.
But if you got a good one, you got a good one. So it don't matter if it's stable and it isn't moving and it doesn't kind of feel like a toy in your hands. You did good.
I was talking to the luthier who put this together, and I just got this neck. You can buy just Fender replacement necks on Sweetwater, and I got this one. It's a Tele Deluxe neck. I think it was like they aren't super popular, but you can get them. He said this is one of the best necks he's gotten off. Like even compared to necks that he'll just do a setup on like a Strat somebody brings in or something. For some reason, like this neck in particular, like if you buy a replacement one from Fender, they're really, really well made. Like the fret jobs on them are great, and just really consistent, is what he said. So
Well, that's good. Sometimes you just get a good guitar. I mean, most of those 70s guitars are not really. It wasn't a good time for Fender.
I know.
The 70s was really not a good time for Fender. But sometimes you get a diamond in the rough. And maybe that's what that one is. And congratulations. It's awesome.
It's awesome. I love this thing, man. I think it's the pickups and the weight of this. This is like a super heavy telly in addition to that. But something like with that combination, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your first guitar from the 70s, Sammy?
No, when I was younger, I got that guitar that's to my left. I think that's a 71. It's an ES 150 DC is the name of it. So it's like a 335, but it's really thick. It's more like a jazz box.
Oh, how cool.
Wow.
That thing's awesome as well. Yeah, it's awesome. I got that from a teacher when I was in high school. Cool. But he's awesome, man. Or he's wonderful, but that guitar is awesome too.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. I like using it. It's really like a jazz box, but I kind of like using gear for like the wrong reasons or what it's not intended for, So I like running that through like high gain amps and stuff and just letting it rip,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a problem keeping that quiet when you're running it?
I don't use it
through
live.
high gain?
I only use it for recording. Okay. Yeah. So
now that guitar,
you just gotta find the spot and just.
That guitar is not semi-hollow. That's fully hollow.
Full hollow.
Yeah, right.
Hollow.
That's why the howling, of course. Yeah, cool.
There's something about low output pickups too with a high gain amp. I don't know.
Darn right.
I don't know what it is. But
I'll tell you what it is. You hear the wood of the guitar.
Yep. Yeah, you hear the guitar.
You hear the wood. You don't hear the metal parts.
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like live, I was always like more like medium output, medium high gain, but like in my guitars I use live now, they're all pretty hot rodded, high gain pickups. But for recording, depending on what you're doing, if you're using like kind of like, like older pickups or lower output, it's like just the clarity and the punch, with recording, it's like the less gain you use, sometimes it almost makes it sound heavier,
Mm-hmm.
the one, depending on what you're doing, but for the most part, so I kind of tend to favor like lower output pickups for recording for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I can understand. It's definitely a nicer. It's nicer to the ears as well because you actually get to, like I said, hear the wood of the guitar, and it's not forgiving. You gotta be on your game to play out of low output pickups. But man, when you got it going, and nothing better.
It's awesome. There's nothing better. It will drive you a little mad though if they're unpotted and then it's just squealing like crazy.
Squealing.
Then you have to battle that, but so anybody, something to try. If you can find like an old guitar and plug it into like kind of like a more modern amp, high gain rig, just something to experiment with because it's fun, man.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Fun to try.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Are you still in your main Les Paul? I'm assuming that's still your number one. Your black custom. You still using Motor City pickups in that guitar?
That's my favorite. Yeah, I've been using those. That's been my axe. That's like that's like my main axe, man. Forever,
Mm-hmm.
There's something about just like once you get so used to a special, sometimes you just have a connection with a certain instrument, or it's hard to break that,
Yes.
But, the Motor Cities are my favorite, man. We're doing a signature set actually coming up here, so I'll be sure to send you guys a set. Yeah, it's cool. I've never done a signature or anything, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Well, tell us about that. So, you're running a hothead and a black belt?
I'm using a hothead, and the pickup in the neck is called an Foyu, so it's similar to a black belt. It's a little bit hotter than a black belt. The voice is a little different.
Okay.
But so we're just starting to design it, trying to figure out exactly what it's gonna be, or the signature set's gonna be. But Wade's so incredible, the designer of Motor City, that it's like I feel like I could just tell him a couple things and he'll just go, here you go, this is it.
I was just gonna say, good luck on when you do get all your prototype pickups and have to put them in and take them out and put them in and take them out till you get the right set.
Dude, I can't solder to save my goddamn life either. So
I don't know if you want to put them in your main guitar.
No, I don't know. What do you suggest for testing? Yeah, I should ask you.
I would buy maybe a Les Paul Studio or something a little less expensive, and do that because, I mean, this is your
Interesting.
baby, and I know. You can't hurt your guitar by putting pickups in and out of it, but you know, you may burn out the original pots. You may burn out a couple things. You just want to have a mule to do your testing with.
Yep. Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
when you finally get the pickup you want, put them in your main guitar and you're done.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice, man. Or like maybe I'll try to borrow like a buddy's.
Or
guitar.
even get an Epiphone Les Paul, because I mean, is it
Yeah.
different than what you got? Of course it is. Is it as good as what you got? Of course it is. But when you're doing 90, no one's gonna know the difference, and it's close enough that if you're trying out a set of pickups, you know, especially a bunch of different prototypes, you can kind of get the idea out of a less expensive Les Paul and then put them in your guitar.
Yeah, and it'll only sound even more like you when you put it in your own.
Sure.
Guitar. Yeah, that's cool. That's good advice, man. Because I was thinking about that, like what I should, like either just only try them on Wade's guitars. That's how I ended up with the set I have now. I was just like trying them in his guitars, but.
Or do that. If it's someone else's guitar, even better. You don't have to spend the money. But
Yeah,
I mean,
there you
if it's like still in pandemic mode, he's going to be sending you pickups. Hey, check this out. Tell me what you think. I would just get a mule
just
guitar to
find
do it
something
with.
to put them in.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Les Paul shape, Les Paul style, because you want it as close to your guitar as possible. And I would probably, if you're going to get an Epiphone, I would probably get a custom
Les Paul's-
Epiphone
Les
custom.
Paul custom.
Yeah, because it's still going to be all mahogany like yours.
That's man, thank you. That's awesome.
welcome.
That's something I haven't thought about. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely didn't want to start just like going into some of my main guitars and messing them up, which I'm sure I would do. So,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Another thing I want to ask you guys too is I have to replace the pots, and that black Les Paul are so dirty, and I've tried everything. I've done the what is the spray? Deoxit. I've done
Yeah,
everything.
D5. Did you get the black and red can?
I don't know. Is that better?
Yes, the black and red can is that's
I
the
gotta write
stuff.
this down.
Well, if you're gonna clean them out, just WD-40. That cleans the pots out. But if you want them to be smoother and less friction, D5. You use that the black and red can. That's the one.
They're just making so much scratch. Like they're just so noisy.
Then I would just spray some WD-40 in it.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Because I've only tried just Deoxit, and that hasn't really helped. So
Yeah.
I've just been being lazy and just been battling it for a year now. But
Yeah.
it was driving my friends nuts. I've been in a session the past couple days. It was driving my friends nuts. Just it was just So yeah, I got to get that fixed. I was thinking about just replacing the chassis, but
Well,
I'm
if
afraid.
it doesn't go away, just go get 4 CTS 500K pots. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid about changing anything, and I'm like kind of superstitious now. So.
Normally I would say go get a couple, 4 Bourne's pots. They're
Okay.
good. Bourne's pots, Sean Silas, Eddie Van Halen used them at the end, or on his Wolfgangs. Yngwie Malmsteen uses them. I think he uses them. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if Malmsteen uses them. But there's a few people.
I think he does have a signature model. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So they're good, but the thing you need to watch out with them, they're fantastic, and when you're rolling when you're rolling the pots and they're even, and they're low friction. The only part that's bad about them is you can burn them out when you're soldering to them because they're very temperamental on the inside, and that's why I tend to use. Like on a Gibson or a Fender, I'll tend to use CTS pots because they're built like a brick shithouse. They're like a tank. They're built like a tank.
Cool.
They don't really burn out when you make them too hot. But I use Bourne's pots on the Van Halen guitars on any Super Strat because you want to have that. You want to be able to that volume pot. Really, you want loose. You want to be able to turn it on and turn it off.
Rip it up and down.
Yeah. So I use them and I'm very careful. But on a muscle car such as your Les Paul, because it is a muscle car, it's not a Ferrari, you want to have the sturdiest, best stuff.
Yeah, I just need something that's. I like. For me, it's just it's all about consistency.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so CTS. I'll write that down. Do they make? Can you just buy a chassis basically? Like
You
all
know,
put
that
together?
I don't know. I've only
okay.
bought pots alone by themselves. I don't know if they make a chassis. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Maybe
I'll
you
look
can
it up
order
after.
it that way. Maybe you could
Send
special
them an
order
email or
something.
I can figure. I'll figure out something. But
Sure.
yeah, I was curious about that because I'm afraid about getting like the wrong.
Well, you
either
can't
tone
as long as
box or
they're
something.
500K. You're not going to go wrong because a volume pot is a tone pot. It just
Right.
depends on what you're
The
hooking up
resist-
to it and where you're putting the resistor.
Cool.
So it's the same. Get 4 500K pots. Take it to your tech. Have him wired in. Just have him do 50s wiring like your guitar is, and
Yep.
you're set.
And we're back in business. Then I'm not
Yeah.
bothering everybody by just turning my guitar.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I was
No
curious
problem.
about
There-
that. I'm gonna try the WD-40 first though. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, try that first. It should take care of it.
Sammy, I know that you mentioned the hollow body behind you was belonged to your guitar teacher. There's quite a few people in the chat that have questions about it. Do you mind showing that guitar
Yeah,
to
I'll
us?
grab it too. Yeah, no problem.
So, Bozique, we can get a lot of these questions answered for you.
Bozique, it's not an ES335 in the chat. It's a thicker. I don't. What did you say? It was an ES
It's an
what?
ES150, but it's there's a couple letters of it. I think it's an ES150 DC for double cut. Let me show some tune. Sorry. But it looks like a 335, but it's about twice as thick.
And we'll show the differences because I have my 335 right here.
So it's a good guitar for like that stuff. But yeah, look
That
how
sounds-
thick it is. It's like,
That sounds great, Sammy.
thanks, man. Yeah, it's cool. It's all worn out. You guys should see the case for it. Like I think like somebody's like Shih Tzu got to the case and just tore it up. But like it's like completely just wood. It's a really old looking case. It's pretty cool.
So you showed the thickness of yours?
Yeah, so it's about like that.
This is the
It's
difference.
about it's about twice as thick as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice 335, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. It's 64. It's a custom shop, but 64.
A buddy of mine has a 60s one. That's one of the nicest saxes I've ever played. It's red like that too. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so cool. The one weird thing about this is it has a master volume right there. Can you see that? That's
Yeah,
where
like
you
a
put
Gretsch.
that's where you'd put the kill switch
Like a
if
Gretsch.
you were sacrilegious. Just kidding. But yeah, it's got a master volume right there. So
That's cool.
It's a great guitar, man. It plays really well. Like he had flat ones on. He was a jazzer, you know. But I've got it set up just like a rock guitar, so it's real low action and all that.
So, Dave,
it's a
was
71.
that made as a to compete with like the 6120? And I mean, what's the
I
story
think-
behind that guitar?
Yeah, I think that I think Gibson actually took that idea from Gretsch because Gretsch came up with that idea in 1955. I think that's the first time a country gentleman was introduced.
Yeah, but even
So-
down to the thickness of it and the scale length, and
It's similar.
Well,
to the Gretsch,
I
you
think that's actually thicker than a 6120. I have one here as well, and it's thinner than that. Slightly
Okay.
Okay.
thinner.
Okay, that's like the Brian Setzer one he played, correct?
Yeah, that's what this is right here.
Yeah, let me see
Killing
that.
myself today.
A buddy of mine just ordered like a custom shop one from them. My friend Dave. Yep, same color and everything. That's awesome. Oh yeah, there's the master volume.
And see how it's a bit thinner than yours.
It might be. That looks pretty close though, man. That's pretty close.
Well,
now
it's-
that you said
it's-
that, I believe it.
It's a little bit. I mean, 1958 and 59 were a little bit thicker than this. This is supposed to be like a 1960. The 1960s were a little thinner, and then when they made 1961, it was even thinner than this.
Wow.
So I believe the guitar, even though Setzer says he's playing a 59, I believe it's a 60.
Okay. Even though
Because
he says it's he's fibbing a little.
because I physically have seen his guitar, and it's thinner than a 59.
Okay. Have you played it? You've seen it up close?
I have not played it. I've seen it, but I have not played it. And I mean, it's thin enough where you can notice it with your eyes. You don't have to get a tape measure out. It's noticeably thinner.
Wow.
But it's
okay.
not, if I was to put this and a 59 next to each other, you'd visibly physically see the difference in size.
Cool. I don't know. That's one thing. I don't know much about Gretches, man. I've always liked them. I've only gotten to play a couple, like, handful of times, but they're awesome. They're badass.
Yeah, very, very nice guitars. They have their own thing. You know, I mean, they have that twang. They have that sound. You know, you throw that through a Fender amp with some echo on it, and it's a very unique thing. And look, you know, Brian Setzer, the way in which he plays the guitar is just a religious experience.
He's one of the baddest ever. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah, he's incredible. I've always wanted to see him too. I've never gotten to see him, but yeah, he's amazing.
I have never. I sit there and watch the man play, and he makes that look so effortless, right? The mark of a true professional, that he's so good that he's making it look easy, and we all know that that's not easy.
No, I mean I'm preaching to the choir, and I know everyone knows this, but he in one song he could play, you know, rock, chicken picking, rockabilly, jazz, blue. In one song, he fits it all in and makes it seamless.
Amazing.
It's crazy.
He does some of the harmonics and stuff. He does are really cool. Yeah, he's amazing, man. He can do it all. It's freaky.
You know, chord choices too. You know, I mean, the way in which he'll go from a 4 chord back to a 1, playing a 6/9. I mean, it's
crazy.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, I don't know of another player and he's very transparent with who his influences are. But I don't know of another modern player that plays like that.
Who are some of his main influences?
Well, Eddie Cochran. Big time.
Eddie Cochran.
Yeah, Chet. I love the Travis picking that he does. You know, Dave's good friend Dennis is a great Travis picker.
Nice.
You know, it's a technique that is lost on a lot of us rock players, and that was an early rockabilly rock and roll technique. And I'm a big hybrid picker, but the Travis picking bit for me is it's intimidating
like the definition
when you hear somebody.
What's the definition of a sorry, trying not to say something like that.
Well, the way in which
think
about it as playing. Think about it as playing bass and a melody line at the same time. So you're playing the bass line with your thumb, and you're playing the melody with your, usually your middle and your index and your middle, your ring finger, and your pinky sometimes.
So real quick, Ty, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to ask you on here because I have no other way to ask you. Do you want me to see if we can get Dennis on here for a minute and show it? And just like a quick cameo and off
about a demo of Travis picking.
Yeah, Absolutely. Let's do that. I'm into that.
He's great, man.
Can you give me a second? I'm gonna go offline for just a second. You guys cover this for now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're good. I'd love to learn how to do it.
Let me call him real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Dave.
No problem.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. I've never been able to do it so much. I've never even I love finger picking, but I've never. Mm-hmm. When you watch guys like that, it's like insane. It's a whole different world. So that's cool.
It is. It's a really different thing. And Brian Setzer. When you watch it, there's so much that us rock players can learn from a player like that. He's one of the greats. I mean, Guitar Man 45 said that he saw him at the Masonic Temple in Detroit in the 80s sometime. So.
During that must have been incredible. That venue's amazing. So to see him there, now he plays big places here. That's awesome. That's crazy. I love the way he plays through changes, man. Sometimes that's like the true mark of somebody who's great at that is like you can't even tell he's, you know what I mean? You don't even hear the changes ripping by. But yeah, he's a master of that.
You're exactly right. When you can play the progression, and then you can go off and create melody. And leave the chordal leave the chordal thing and play the melody and still hear the chords in the back, you really mastered that playing over changes bit, right?
That's a good thing to practice. Is like, say you're learning a song or like learning a standard or something. That's an exercise they used to make you do, or like I had to do in school a lot. Is like if you're learning like a jazz standard, you solo over it, but so you play the head and then you solo over it and try to make the listener hear the changes without them playing behind you. You know, that's hard. It's hard to make it and not make it sound like stupid or like contrived or something. Like, but when you can really do it well, it's awesome.
But because you're that type of player, Sammy, and you have that kind of background, and you did study music, when a student comes to you and say it's an advanced student, an advanced rock player, and he says, Sammy, I really want to start focusing over playing over changes and do some voice leading into chords. Where do you tell a student like that where to begin? How to begin that process?
All right, ready for my big secret?
Yes.
This is it. All you gotta try to hit the thirds of every chord on the one. That's all you gotta do, and then it sounds like you're doing something crazy. That's a good place to start. So
yeah,
that's a good place to start. Like if you're playing you're playing over a progression, like pick a chord progression you like and practice hitting the thirds on every time the chord changes, land on the third. And then you don't have to do that every time, but it's a good place it's just good for your ear to be able to hear what it sounds like and feel what it's like to be playing the changes, So in jazz, like the third and the seventh is good, but if you're a rocker like me and like we are, try to hit the thirds of the chords. That's a good place to start. And like all over the neck too,
and that's
one spot.
Yeah, that's a terrific piece of advice because the three determines whether it's major or minor. So it's it's part of that primary triad, and you can also build an arpeggio off of that three. And so as you begin expanding your vocabulary of playing over chords, that's a brilliant place to start playing the thirds.
That's a good place to start, man. And it's good to just be able to arpeggiate the chords. That's a Joe Pass thing, man. Is just to play a solo in all eighth notes. If you want to simplify it for rock, like play the arpeggios of every chord without stopping and make it sound seamless. That's a good thing to practice too. You never want to do that if you're actually taking a solo because it sounds
right.
It sounds like you're just like playing an exercise or something, but you should be able to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dennis is in the middle of a band rehearsal. But I think I have a video of him doing some Travis picking on here. I could show you guys real quick.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive it's got Travis picking. If not, just enjoy this video. So just give me 1 second.
It's cool with me. Yeah, I want to know. I don't even know what it is.
Hang on, let me just turn this up. Oh, what'd I do? Hang on, sorry about this, guys.
What is Dennis? What is his last name?
Del Gaudio.
Okay, cool.
Hang on, what did I do here? Oh, I just turned it back on. Yeah.
That's great.
It's badass. Yeah.
That's so good. I love the walking bass line. It's awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's
That's
awesome.
really good.
It's amazing. That's
Yeah.
That's really good.
just like, yeah, it takes you somewhere. I like
That's
guitar
right.
playing that like takes you somewhere. That's like, you can see, you know, all of us sitting on the porch at about 11 p.m. And, give
but
me a bearded crying type of guitar playing.
The cool thing about my buddy Dennis is that's not even the best thing he does. He's just
The shredder.
he's not a shredder. He can, he chooses not to. He's more of a he'd rather play like Billy Gibbons than play like anyone else. But
That's sick.
he does everything. He has a country band, of course, because I mean you can hear it in his playing. But that's you know he likes country music. That's what he
He's
plays.
awesome,
But
man.
not today's type of country. The old type of country is what he plays.
Yeah, PGB, pre-Garth Brooks.
Yeah, and he writes his own material. And
He's
you
awesome, man.
He's also probably the biggest Beatles fan on the planet. He's a humongous John Lennon, George Harrison fan.
He's a great player, man. Where is he from? Is he a Nashville
He's
guy?
here. No, he's right here
Oh,
in,
wow.
in New York. He lives 5 minutes away from me. He comes to my house every day. We
Really?
spend. He's like my best friend in the world. I've known him forever. He and I have played in bands together. We grew up playing music together. It's like the only constant in my life, other than really I've known him the longest of all my friends.
It's awesome, man. He's
Yeah.
he's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah, he really is, and we only have amazing guitar players on this show. Come on, you know that, Sammy.
Damn it. No, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. Is that like a lesson that he does, or that's just him playing?
That was just him playing. He was. That was Larry Mitchell's, one of Larry's guitars,
Oh, okay. Cool.
and Larry was on the road somewhere, and I think someone had said, you can't play more than rock on one of his guitars, and that guitar happened to be in my house. Dennis at the time lived here, so I was like, Dennis, go play something stupid good on that guitar, and let me video it real quick.
And
So-
so I can show it off.
and it was like he hadn't really been practicing that song. He just picked up the guitar and did that first take. That's it.
He's awesome, man.
That's really
That's
cool.
a really cool. It's a really cool style.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
but
Just being able
he's
to- Go
he's
ahead.
also got a just a cover band thing, like a club date band that does bars and weddings. So he does everything. It's he has his own band. He does that. He plays with the Lords of 52nd Street. Billy Joel's the band that recorded all those great songs of Billy Joel. He's the guitar player in that. He
Oh,
does.
wow.
He's all over the place.
I have a friend who can play like that as well, and I didn't realize it was called Travis pitching. His name's Jackson Smith,
Uh-huh.
and he's somebody to look up. His mom is Patti Smith, which is
Oh, no
crazy.
kidding.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and his dad was a guitar player in MC5, Fred Sonic Smith.
No
Oh,
kidding.
awesome. I love the
Dude.
MC5.
Amazing.
They're
And
fantastic.
Jackson got all the talent from both of them. It's not fair, but yeah, he plays like those arrangements of walking bass and melodies like nobody else. But he's played with a lot of people. He's played with Elton John. He's played with a couple other people. Amazing.
That's cool.
But yeah, he's somebody to look up, man. Like he's on, I think YouTube, and he's got a couple things on Instagram, but he's more on. Check him out on YouTube. It's Jackson Smith, but he lives in town, man. He's like my neighbor.
Very cool.
But yeah, he's really good. But yeah, that's what it's called. It's called. See, I never knew the name for it. It's called Travis pitching.
So
So he does it with
Sammy,
a thumb pick.
Yeah, a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
But you have a lot going on, playing bass lines and then playing melodies. I mean, it's very much a part of what makes you so unique. Where did that influence begin?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I've never been able to do the finger style thing that way. So the tapping thing is like kind of a cool alternative to that, I guess. Even though it sounds totally different, but I just like the idea of being able to play the bass, the chords, and the melody all at the same time, you know. And for some reason, like to me, it makes more sense doing it like that than as opposed to like finger picking and playing the bass lines. And it's just a different thing. Like similar, it's just a different approach, but trying to do the same thing, I guess. Um, but as far as like I don't know. I mean, I was like the biggest Van Halen nut, of course. I don't want to bring that up because it's sad, but that's how I got into tapping originally. And he would do some of it. He was more like one string playing arpeggios all the time. I mean, his tapping was off the charts all around. But I don't know. There's some guys that do it. Like Stanley Jordan's awesome. He does more like improvisation. And playing like two guitars at once, which is unbelievable, you know. But
well, he actually plays piano lines while he plays the bass notes. I mean, that's how you really do it. But it's really like he's playing the piano on his guitar.
It's crazy.
When he's
yeah, unbelievable. I've always wanted to see him play in person, but I never have. But I don't know. I think it's just for me. It's like I just wanted to be able to kind of do what your friend was doing, where I play a whole song, the melody, and everything at once. But just like I'm a rocker, you know. So this was kind of like the easiest or made the most sense.
Yeah, but the way you do it, it's
very unique,
amazing.
Thanks,
it's like it's your thing. When if someone sees someone else doing that, it's like, oh yeah, that's the Sammy Boller thing.
Oh, thanks.
You know,
man.
but that's the
nice.
truth. That's the way it is. I mean, me personally, because you're the first person I saw do it your way, I call it the Sammy Boller thing because to me that's what it is.
That's so nice, man. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm blown away like seeing other people kind of do that approach now, like just seeing videos online and stuff. Like kids will send me stuff like that sometimes. And I'm just like, man, that is so cool. Or like seeing somebody else play something you wrote, like that is just like just like blows my mind, you know. But it's just a cool way to play. It's an interesting way to play, and it's a cool way to kind of entertain yourself, you know. Instead of like not only just playing a riff or playing a lead, it's like all of a sudden you can start making little pieces. You know, that's how I started doing it. I know you kind of asked how I started doing it. It was like I was just staying like up late at night, just coming up with little arrangements, coming up with little pieces that I kind of liked, and then it kind of like once you have one, it kind of leads into another, and then you could get a couple sections, then all of a sudden you have a whole song, you know. So yeah, it's fun, man. I feel like there's a long way to go with it. Like I'm trying to come up with some new stuff with it, but
well,
yeah,
I think the way in which you use the technique for composition purposes is just so different than the way so many other players use the technique. And I want to geek out for a minute and ask you, how do you visualize when you're doing that technique? How are you visualizing the layout of the fretboard? Are you seeing that in terms of chords, or are you seeing it in terms of scale, or are you using both just to create a melody and it doesn't really have a? I'm curious as to how you organize it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think about chord progressions a lot. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to get into it. I can show you. I don't know how well you guys can see this.
Here, you know what? I'll make it so that we can all see it. I'm not really doing my job here. Should be doing this.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Nice. So we were kind of even talking about earlier, like even if you're soloing over chord changes, like a good thing to do is hit the third of the chord. Yep. So like kind of taking that into just kind of like the tapping thing is usually like how I started doing it. This is just kind of how I started was you play a power chord with the left hand, right? And then you hit the third of the chord with your right hand, right? So it's like here's the root, the fifth, and then the third is this. And I don't know why, but for some reason, when you tap it, it kind of like starts to sound like music, even if you're just hitting the progressions. So like this is like just B minor, A, G. It's all just like the same shape, just moved down. But if you play it like in this style, it kind of starts to sound like music pretty quick. F sharp. And like that's like a super stock chord progression, but if you tap
Love
it
it,
out like
man.
that, it starts to sound. It sounds cool, yeah. So
Well,
that's a good
not
place
only-
to start. Is like thinking about progressions, and that's like the most basic way to do it. Like you can add more notes, like you can add the root on top. And the way I think about that is like I think about double stops. Like everybody plays double stops on guitar, like right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Or major. You tap those instead. So this is
But the
just
cool
kinda like
thing about what you're doing, one of the coolest things about what you're doing is your meter, your timing on every string hit, no matter where you are, is so precise. Not a lot
Thanks.
of people have that. I mean, a lot of people can play fast. A lot of people can play melodic. A lot of people can play a lot of good things. But what you just did there, even in the simplest thing for you, because that's not simple what you just did. I don't care what anyone says. That's so simple for you. Every string hit was perfectly timed. Do you understand? I mean, I'm sure you guys get that, but the people in the chat, do you understand that? It was not like
you can
you
do
know.
it. It's not crazy.
It
Thank
was
you. That's
like,
really nice.
look, if
but-
I put a metronome to that, each hit would be on right on a click, and that's not a lot of people can do that.
Well, it's also, I'm watching the technique, and I'm listening to the music that's being created through that chord progression. But the technique itself, Dave, just like you said, is, I mean, the timing's great, but the technique is flawless. I mean, the muting, everything that's going on in the technique is just so clean. It's, I watch that and just think, wow, how does he stumble upon this? And he's writing these compositions around this technique. Somebody mentioned, Bozique mentions Cloak of Light. He says, while we've been checking out Sammy's recent stuff, Cloak of Light has a bit of Eddie Van Halen meets Doug Aldrich vibe to it. I mean, Cloak of Light
Thanks,
is,
man.
I've told Sammy privately that that's my favorite track off of his latest record. There's just so much to unpack in
Thanks,
there
man.
as a player. So thanks for mentioning that, Bozique. And in the chat, if you haven't listened to Sammy's record, do yourself a favor and listen to this man's music.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of it. If you haven't checked out the album, anybody in the chat, it's a lot of those kind of like tapping pieces, but or at least the songs are best, best. Most of them are like based on that. But it's with it's rocking. It's with a rock band, So it's the melodies and stuff are a lot based on the tapping, but there's other stuff in there too. I don't know. It's worth listening to. But that's kind of like what I wanted to try is like because I've always kind of like grown up like being like a band guy, like being a rocker. So I thought it'd be a cool idea to try to do the tapping stuff with a band, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you
Thanks, man.
did. I mean, you experienced some success as a band guy. I mean, you guys recorded some great music. You were recognized with some hit songs, and then you went and became this incredible instrumentalist. Hey guys, the other thing about Sammy's record is how good the record sounds. I mean, the record sounds huge.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a
thank you.
great sounding record.
You guys are too nice to me, man. Thank you. That's really nice. I think for me personally, like just like getting into instrumental music, like I don't think I'd be able to be doing it now. Like if I hadn't grown up playing in bands and touring and just learning so much about how to make an album and record, like I just feel really lucky that I got to do that when I was really young, because it's a learning experience making a record, especially on your own, and like making an instrumental record, like trying to make it interesting only with guitar, like that's it's a learning thing. I feel like I'm still learning how to do it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anybody in the chat, like I think the more you can get out and play and play in bands, I think anybody you play with, you can always learn something from them, No matter
agree.
who it is, no matter what level, no matter even people playing different instruments as well,
Yeah. So Rhonda Colgan says Kingdom of the Sun is an amazing album.
Thank
Amen.
you.
I agree.
Yeah, and Rhonda, I think this is probably your first episode with us, maybe. 'Cause I forgive me if I haven't seen your name before, or at least you haven't said hello before. But welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Cameron
thanks for being
Brown
here.
says, "Good evening, guys. What's up, Sammy?" Sammy, you know Cameron?
He's a great guitar player. Yeah. Hey,
Oh, he's
thanks for
yeah.
tuning in.
One of the best. One of the best
He's a
guitar players on the
he's
planet.
awesome. He's a monster.
Yeah, one of our good friends.
Yeah, Cameron.
I do seven.
I love all these new videos Cameron's been posting. Great stuff, Cameron.
Yeah, Cam's awesome, man. Thanks for tuning in, dude.
Radu7777 says Sammy's record on vinyl is great. Really nice pressing if you're into vinyl. Very
Thanks. Yeah, it just came out on vinyl, so it's pretty
Congratulations.
Cool. Hearing your music on vinyl is a trip too.
I would imagine
something else. Yeah, it's cool. It's weird, you know. It sounds different, you know. It's like it's just it feels different, you know.
Yeah.
But it was exciting, man. It's cool.
So, Sammy, you had these songs, and you decide I want to just kind of pursue the direction of that conversation a minute ago. You had these songs, and you wanted to go and play them, and you have this experience making records before. When you went in to record these compositions, were you self-producing at that point? Were you taking outside direction and advice? I mean, give us a sense of how you began that process and how you began demoing the songs.
I worked with a producer. His name's Steve Lehane. He's like my best friend. He worked with my old band Citizen Zero as well. He's like, we work on a lot of stuff together. But I'm not one of those people that's like big on like self production. Just because it's really good to have somebody outside yourself going, hey man, you know, you're an idiot right here. You know, I kind of need that personally.
Mm-hmm. Or the other way, the other direction. Hey man, that really sounds good. Don't screw with it.
Don't mess with it. Yeah, please don't do anything else. Yeah. So I like having somebody to. I like working with a producer, I guess. But I demoed a lot of it out at home. And I kind of it started with just kind of like doing. I tried to get like the full song on guitar. And then, like, I'd program stuff. Like, I'd program drums and add other instruments. That's how I kind of wrote a lot of it. And then the drummer on most of the album, Dylan Walsh, would just come over to my apartment. And he'd listen to my drum program and just be going like, oh, my God. Because I have no idea how to play drums. I'm horrible. So he kind of fixed up the program and go, no, man, it would actually be like this. So then, like, by the time we went to actually record it and play it, we had a pretty good idea of, like, how it was going to sound, you know. But, it's cool. I think on the next stuff I'm working on right now, it's a little bit more collaborative. Like, it's more like we're just jamming it out. Like, hey, listen to this, and we're kind of like jamming it out and kind of writing it that way, as opposed to like just writing it in my apartment and then going, hey, let's go record it. You know, I think that's like kind of what I love the most is like working it out in a room with your friends or people you really trust. You know,
that's cool. Yeah. That's always cool.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's great to have a band that actually can do it with you. Like you tell them what you want. You tell them not necessarily what you want, but this is what it is. Come up with your own thing, but keep it kind of this way, and it just happens. It's just amazing when the band members are that good.
Well, and that they understand they understand the creative spirit behind what's being presented, right? I mean, that's super important. And I know the last time we talked, you know, before the world changed with this pandemic, you put a band together and you were getting ready to go out. Is there plans for that at the end of this, whatever the end of this?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just taking their like 2020 plans, moving them to next year, you know. So I'm hoping we can go out next year. I think everything is so up in the air right now. Like we've tried to plan a little bit, but it changes so much day to day. I don't know. I hope we can go out and start playing again next year. I don't know. Some of my friends have been doing like the drive-in stuff, which seems pretty cool. You know, it's not quite the same as like playing the club that's everybody slammed in. But
well, let me ask you this.
Cool.
Let me ask you this. You know, our friend Greg Smith from Ted Nugent's band, bass player, has his own band. You know, he lives in Bangor, PA. and he has his own band, and he plays in his backyard, and he does like this Facebook Live with his band for people to watch, kind of like this, but just his band playing like on a Saturday afternoon. He does his 3 sets of music, and I think he makes some money at it. I think he has his PayPal and Venmo and all that stuff up, but it's virtual concert right in his backyard. You ever think of doing something like that, maybe?
Yeah, I've done a couple of the live streams, just kind of like throughout. I've probably done like 3 or 4 of them, but I've never, I don't know. I would do it, yeah, totally. I'm thinking about doing one. I've got a song coming out next month. I'll probably end up doing something like that for that. It's harder to do it with, it's a lot easier doing it like just one instrument, like just kind of like this and setting up the tracks and playing.
Sure.
Once you start doing it with a whole band, it's harder to make it sound great, you know. But I've seen some of my friends have pulled it off though. Like even your buddy from Ted Nugent's band, I'm sure it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he does it, and it sounds great. No, it doesn't implode on itself. It doesn't compress.
I'm
great.
so superstitious about all that, man. It's like as soon I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. As soon as you start, like I always get like the fear of death. Like, oh god, my internet's gonna crash or something, you know. But yeah, I'll probably end up doing some stuff like that. It's fun,
That'd be
man.
cool.
I mean,
It'd be great
it's
to
cool
see
seeing. It's cool seeing everybody play like in their kitchen or like in their. It's like in some ways it's people that you never thought you'd get to see play like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's an intimate thing. So it's been cool, man. But yeah, I'm definitely missing the road though. I definitely can't wait to go back at it once we can.
It's very cool. Well, you know, it's any little bit that we get to see of you is amazing. So
thanks.
you know,
Yeah.
I look forward to. I'm sure we all look forward to anything you put out there for us to watch.
Thanks,
It's-
man.
you know, it's-
I can't wait to get back to New York. Personally, that's like That's like my favorite place to play.
You just let me know when you're here, and you get carte blanche here.
Thanks, man. I gotta come over and see some of your guitars
You're
too.
more than welcome to play
Yeah.
any of them you want. Take them and play them live. If you want. I'm fine with it.
I'd be
fine
too
with
afraid. I'd be too afraid
Oh,
of
come on.
messing them up.
They're
Maybe.
just guitars, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
They're just guitars. I mean, if you could do what you do on your guitars and not worry about it, why would I worry about it in my mind? It's no
Thanks,
problem.
man. Mine are pretty beat up though.
So are mine, though. The only
Okay,
one
then.
that's not beat up is the next one I'm going to show you.
That's sick. What is that,
That's
model?
pretty
All right,
cool.
so this
What JS
this
is
is
that?
this is an Ibanez JS 2410. It's a Joe Satriani.
Okay.
Now, our friend Jay Hannon called me one day and said, "Guess what I got?" He got one of these, and he's not a Satriani. He's a Vi guy. He likes the real flat neck, real thin and skinny neck, which this is not. And he played one of these, and he absolutely fell in love with it. Now, and I told him, good for you. And he loves it. It's all he plays at the moment. And I didn't think of getting one. I didn't get one. I certainly didn't get one because he got one. But 2 weeks ago, on a Sunday, Desiree had to go clothes shopping. And I was like, well, can you just drop me off at Guitar Center I don't want to stay in the house. I'll just go sit there and look at guitars and maybe, noodle. We made the mistake of going there and
She went
dropped me
for
off.
it? She went
And
for that?
no. Well, I had no idea this guitar was going to be there. So hanging on the used wall.
She's never dropping you off at Guitar Center again.
She's not. On the used wall, this guitar was sitting on the used wall, and my buddy Matt, who worked there when I was his boss, said, "You want to try the JS, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I still was like, "I'm not going to buy this thing. First of all, it's I've got so many great guitars. What do I need another Ibanez for?" And Jay has one. I don't want to look like I'm biting off of him. But pick the guitar up, strum 2 chords, just a G and an E, not in an amp. Just strummed a G and an E, and then fluttered the bar. And I said, "Okay, I'll take it." Just like that. It was just that good. It was
man.
It was just that good. I don't normally do that. It takes I need a day to mull it over. I need to, if I wake up the next morning thinking about the instrument, I usually get it. But like this time, I just had to get it. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Have you ever had a JS before?
Yes, I've had a couple before, and they're good guitars. They're really good guitars. But this one is I gotta say, it's the shit. It
Yeah,
really
that's a
is.
nice
It's
one.
amazing. It's 24 frets.
nice,
I don't
man.
like. I don't like 24 fret guitars, but and the reason is because of the pickup placement. But if you see this neck pickup it's a humbucker, but it's got a lot of single coil tendencies. It's called a Satch track. It's right up against the neck. It would be right where a 22 fret guitar pickup would be. It's butt up against right against the neck. So the spacing is there, and it sounds great. This humbucker is, I'm not sure which one it is. I apologize, but it is the most open sounding humbucker I've ever heard, and this particular guitar is the best sounding Floyd Rose guitar I've ever heard. Because
really,
most Floyd Rose guitars, they sound good. They don't necessarily have a sound like a Gibson or a Fender. You can't really tell. Like if you closed your eyes on most Floyd Rose guitars, you couldn't really tell what kind of guitar it was. You'd just say it's a good sounding guitar. This guitar makes a sound like a Telecaster would make a sound, or like a Stratocaster would make a sound, or a Les Paul would make a sound. You know, they have their own sound where, man, that's the Les Paul, or man, that's definitely a Tele. You listen to this guitar and it makes a sound like that unto itself. It's incredible.
Wow.
Cool.
None of my
That's
other
cool,
none of my other Floyd Rose guitars I could say that about. This one I can.
cool.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is that
Yeah.
like the latest JS model, basically? Or what's the actual
I
model?
think this came out in 17 or 18. And, you
Okay.
know, they make the Chrome Boy now, which is basically the same guitar with a sustainer pickup here and in chrome, which is like $5,000. And they make a red one, a muscle car red like this with a sustainer in it.
Okay.
And I think that's the 2480. This is the 2410 because it's just a regular pickup, no sustainer. But
Got it.
and I have not tried the other ones, so I can't say that it's true for this whole line. I just know it is true for this guitar, and I know it's true for the one that our buddy Jay, has, because he doesn't like this type of neck. It's big. It's not flat radius. It's kind of a rounded radius. It's everything he doesn't like about Ibanez, but he loves that guitar. It's very
Okay.
strange. So
That's
I
cool.
have to say that probably it's the same way along the line of this guitar, whether you get it in orange, purple, or black or white. I think it's just the guitar. So
There was a question, David. Brian Spalding says, "Is the Floyd floating?"
yes, yeah. Most of my Floyds, other than the Van Halen guitars, are floating. I don't know if you can hear this. I want to put this on here so you can hear this.
Yeah, you can hear. That's cool.
It's just crazy. It vibrates for days. It's crazy.
Cool.
That's nice, man. I've never been able to get a Floyd floating that's set up correctly. I've never been able to get one that
Well,
plays
send it
well
over to
down.
me and I'll get it done. But you know,
It's
again,
Yeah, I should.
is yours on the body, Sammy? Is yours on?
I
on the
block them
body?
all. I just block
Okay.
them. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really do the bounce that, like, I've never done that a ton. And I don't really use it for vibrato either. I use it just to dive home, you know. And I think when you're on the road too, they stay in tune better. Just if you have a block, it stays in tune really well. So that's why I've always done it. But I got to play Vi's guitar at Sweetwater last year. I think it was like one of the Flow. I think it was like
Flow 3.
2. Yep.
and
That's
it has the scalloped frets.
Yep. Yeah, and it's got the edge tremolo. Like
Yeah, I think, but his whole neck is scalloped on that guitar, which is crazy.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was, man. I think that some of it was. I think, but if it's the same axe, and it's got like the tuners that.
Yeah, those
Yeah, that's it.
they're Steinberger style tuners.
Yeah.
And I saw them. They're really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, his stuff is awful floating, and he keeps it in tune unbelievably. You know, sometimes it's like the touch, you know, when you know an axe. But I was always curious to see like with the guys that did that, like Vi and Satriani, like they were famous for having the full floating bars, like if they had any tricks like setting up wise. And now his was just like totally stock. You know, there's nothing. Yeah, I think he had one of those like trem setter things in there.
Yeah,
Or maybe
he
one
has
or two of them.
Yep, he has a couple of trem
Yeah.
setters in there. Yep.
Yeah, but other than that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Radu
Sammy,
7777.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
No. I'll talk. I'll get to that after. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of setups, Radu777 asked Sammy, how do you set up your guitars in regards to your tapping technique? Super low action or just a normal type setup?
Really low action. I've always liked really low action. Just I don't know. I always just try to get it as low as I possibly can.
Are they stock frets or have you increased the fret size?
No, I like small frets, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, I like Gibson frets. The Friedman guitar has bigger frets, and I like that too. But I don't know. Yeah, I think with small frets you can get the action a little bit lower, and I think they stay in tune a little bit. I don't know. It's something about like I play kind of hard, so if you have smaller frets, it stays in tune a little bit better.
Yeah.
But no, I always just like getting the action as low as you can.
Me too.
But one thing on Vi's guitar, the action's pretty fucking high. Believe it or not.
Really?
I've heard that.
Not like high for me. You know, I think maybe it's like closer to standard, but it's higher than you would think. Like picking up his guitar, you'd think it would be just snapped down.
Wow.
But,
Well, and then that's changed because there was a time that I want to say it was 1992, and I got a chance to play rhythm guitar for the love of God with him.
What?
And
At a show?
On a show it was a St. Jude thing that we all did.
It's awesome.
Then I had one of his 7-strings as well, and after I played that rhythm part, I got off the stage and watched him with my mouth, my jaw all the way dropped. But his guitar went out of tune, and he borrowed my guitar for one song, and I held his, and it was one of his 7-strings, one of the swirled ones.
Nice.
And the action was so low on that guitar. I mean, it was as low as I like it. It was like something that I would play. And I love low action where acoustically it's going to buzz, but through an amp it's not going to buzz.
Yeah, that's
that's the way his guitar was. And I'm wondering, maybe he changed the way he likes his guitars now.
Or it could just be that one, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's his main guitar. I guess he's playing the Pias now, but he plays that guitar more than he plays Evo. So
yeah.
So, I guess maybe he's enjoying a bit higher action.
He does
that's
some
cool.
weird stuff, man. Like on that guitar, the ball ends. Like usually on the floor rows, you cut the ball ends, and he has the ball ends up here. And
He
then
does that on all his guitars.
Why does he do that? Do you have any idea?
I think it's a look thing. I think it just looks.
It just looks cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. But I don't know. It sometimes I like personally like. I'm the type of guy where it's like I just like once I find what I like, I just stick with it. So like I've always just liked really low action. Like I kind of like enjoy the process of trying to get it really really low and seeing how far you can take it before it gets messed up.
Sure. Yeah. You got to be able to bend, and if you can't bend, it's just too low. But if you can bend with low action, you're good.
Yeah, and the other thing, a good thing that like sometimes like I've worn out the frets on that black guitar a couple times. Just getting it leveled, you can get the action. If you have a really good level, like a fret level, you can get the action really low, no problem.
Absolutely. It's all about the fret job.
Yeah, that's what I recommend. If you're trying to do that and it's fretting out somewhere, just go and take and get it fret level because you'll be able to do it. But yeah, I was surprised about Vi's guitar though. He's got pretty high action. Everybody's different, man.
Yeah,
everybody's different.
Yeah. Well, Radu7777 has a question. He says, is that a carbon fiber tremble bar on that JS? I have the carbon fiber trems on all my Ibanez guitars because they're lighter and they allow the tremolo to do that flutter thing much better than those old bars. It's just much lighter. It's a bit thicker. It's easier to hold in your hands. It's actually more. It's just you get more control out of this bar. It's super expensive. The bar alone, it's like $85, and
Wow.
I've got them on 6 guitars. So it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Can you put that on like any Floyd? It's like a replacement bar for Floyd. No.
No,
Okay.
no. It's meant for the original Edge or the Low Pro Edge.
Okay, so Ibanez one. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's a cool idea, man.
Yeah.
I bet it feels good too because it's probably a little bit.
It really does feel good. It feels good in your hands because it's a little bit bigger. It's like a. I don't know. It just feels better.
Yeah.
To me. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, it's all about how it feels.
And
to you.
it allows the guitar to vibrate a little better because it's carbon fiber, of course. It's just part of the resonance of the guitar.
It's cool, man.
It's 10 o'clock.
How
Has
has
anyone
this
ha-
gone by so fast?
Does anyone
what's
have
going
any
on here?
questions for Sammy before we say goodnight? Ty, do you have anything else you'd like to add or say? Do you have? I'll go as long as you guys want, but it's 10 o'clock.
I
would
just
you
want to, I want to, just sincerely thank Sammy for agreeing to come on and have this conversation with us. I mean, we got a lot. We got, we got some insight into how he plays at home, how he's playing through an interface on a live stream that sounds great, that Dave and I are going to take a lot of notes on.
Oh yeah.
How he is, he gave all of us some really good advice into this concept of chasing chords. Talked about, how to set up a guitar, showed off some of this incredible tapping technique. So there was a lot to wrap your head around in this episode. And Sammy Boller, we just thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having me on. It's always good to see you. It's an honor.
Same here. Same
Means
here.
a lot.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. It's man, it's just a pleasure to watch you play. Your stories, everything about you it's always a lot of fun on here. One more question is Dan in New Jersey says, just curious, does Sammy also play keyboards because his style has some elements of it?
Yeah, I started on piano when I was a little kid. So
There you go.
I still play a little bit, but not. I don't know. I like playing piano. I just have like a little organ. I have like a oh my god, a Farfisa here. I had a keyboard, but I gave it to a buddy of mine. But I play keyboard. Not a ton, but I started on piano. Yeah, so I think it
Cool.
plays into it a little bit.
Very cool. I know this is an easy one. Hugh Caldwell says, does Sammy have a favorite amp?
Yeah, I play V100. That's kind of like that's the holy grail for me. I think kind of like Ty said about the small box. So. Yeah,
Well-
that's Friedman B100.
I mean, Friedman is a guest alumni on here, and his amplifiers are just amazing.
Dude, yeah,
Second
did you
to
guys
none.
just have Dave on too? I saw he was on.
We did have him on, yes.
Yeah, it was great.
Great, man.
It was a great chat. I can't wait to try out a twin sister.
That thing's gnarly. Yeah, that thing's
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it
It's
is.
badass. Yeah, it's cool.
Well, thank you so much, Sammy, on behalf of Ty and I and everyone here in the chat. I'd just love to get you on again at some point if you have some time.
Well,
I'm
let's do
sure
it,
we'll
man.
always have stuff to talk about. So if you're okay with that, maybe we can set up a date sometime later in the week or next week or something like that.
Let's do it.
And,
Yeah, I'm around. It's always good to talk to you guys, man.
Yeah, Ty.
Thank you,
again. Always great doing these things with you, and I
too,
appreciate you
Dave.
here. And on that note, everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday night.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks for
Bye,
tuning in,
everybody.
everyone.